Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a very exciting edition of Celtic Transfer Talk. Now, in relation to yesterday's video, it must have caught the eye of Celtic. I made a video saying Celtic must get the finger out, and within 24 hours, we look to be close to signing at least 2, but maybe 3 players. Let's talk about that all in today's video. Now, Celtic have the big task of getting players through the door. We know that. Yesterday I made it abundantly clear that I'm not happy personally with the way the club are going in regards to recruitment. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing in terms of a squad developing under a new coach and all the rest of it, but we need players through the door. We know that. We have a deadline to register players for Thursday and then later in the wildcard registration on Monday. So we need to get players through the door if we want them in time for Midtjylland. And I said that yesterday, we need to get the finger out. That was the phrase that I used. Today, the reports are flying, journalists are coming out with story after story. And as always I say, take it with a pinch of salt, a wee bit of sacks of salt. Just take it with a pinch and we'll go ahead and see what's been said. But I think this is the closest that Celtic have been so far this window to signing some first team players. It looks like it actually could be happening. What a world. Before we do get into the video, please make sure to hit that big red subscribe button below the video. It is completely free, no charge, nothing, and you're joining the family, you're helping the channel grow. We are trying our best to get to 30k as quickly as possible, so be a part of that, and also press the like button because it means more people will find and share out the content. So as I said, there is 3 players to talk about in this video, so we're going to have to try and go through it thick and fast with all the information I've managed to gather and observe and whatever other keywords you want to use. Let's just get into it. Let's talk about these players because I, for one, am particularly excited about a couple of these guys. So the first player we're going to talk about, and excuse my pronunciation if it is not right, Liel Abada, I think that might be it, who we are talking about from the team Maccabi Petah Tikva over in Israel. Yes, no surprise here at all. You know who the agent is. He's familiar to Celtic Football Club, the man that brought us such great season. Let me get the list. Efe Ambrose, Nir Bitton, Ismail Soro, Abdel Ahmed, Rami Gershon, and even more. We're talking about Dudu Duhan, the man who's been around the club for quite a while now. And when I first seen that name, and when I first seen the fact that we were getting another one of his players, it wasn't a positive reaction, I must admit. I was thinking to myself, well, here we go again. We're going back to the old watering hole. We're going back to the places we've been before, and we're not really moving forward. But I must admit, the more and more I look into this Mr. Abada here, I'm getting more and more excited. He's the first winger we have been linked with this transfer window, which is massive because we know we need wingers. We need wingers on both the left and right hand side, in my opinion. And here we're looking at a 19-year-old player who is naturally a right winger. From the clips and the bits of footage I've managed to see of the player, it looks very Flair type. It looks very tricky. It looks fast. It looks like an exciting player. And he's someone who I feel Celtic would... we need a player like him direly. We need someone on those wings. Now, of course, we've got James Forrest on that right-hand side, which would maybe suggest that the left-hand side is more of a priority, but for years now I think we've been neglecting the fact that James Forrest needs a bit of competition on that right hand side, and someone who's only 19 years of age, who has a lot of room for development, this could be the perfect player for it, and he's certainly grabbed my attention from what I've seen so far. Creating 16 goals in 26 games last season, the 19-year-old is ready to move on to a bigger and better challenge, and that could be with us at Celtic, and it's been reported quite heavily that the deal is going to be done within the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. This looks to be the closest thing to a done deal out of the 3 players. I'm hoping that the announcement is made, and I'm hoping we can get him into the first team. He looks someone who's very interesting. I was looking at the videos. He looks as though he's a very good finisher, which has got a bit of pace. He likes to very much cut in the inside as well when given the opportunity, and most importantly to a lot of fans, I think this will be the big thing, it looks as though he likes to take a man on. It looks as though he's not scared to take them on the dribble. Those backwards passes that Ange Postecoglou said that he doesn't really like, looks as though it will suit his game. He doesn't like to pass it backwards. I've seen a lot of forwards passing, a lot of good crossing, and a lot of cutting in the inside and taking the ball on and taking the man on. And that excites me because I feel like for so long we've had players who have been too scared at times to take their man on, and this guy could come in and change that if given the right coaching. Evidently he's a player with talent. I mean, his stats alone would suggest that of last season and from what I've seen so far, but there were a few big clubs in Europe looking at him, Nice in France being one. I believe there was a couple of teams in Belgium as well. well looking at the player. Celtic look to be the ones that are going to land the deal, which is very, very exciting. Now, the rumoured fee suggests that Celtic will be paying £4 million for the player, which automatically would suggest to me that he will be a player utilised within that starting 11, within that first team as much as possible. You don't pay £4 million for a player not to have an instant impact on that squad. The big question is how are we going to implement him into the team? Being a right winger, does he replace James Forrest, or is Celtic going to experiment and maybe try him out on the left-hand side? The reason I say that is because we're yet to be linked with a left winger. We only have Mikey Johnson really at the club. Mohamed El Yunusi won't be returning to Celtic. So will Abada be maybe pushed over to that left-hand side and tried out there to see if it works? He's a right footer. I don't know if it will work. But I just can't imagine Forrest being dropped from the team. I don't imagine Forrest moving either to the left wing or anywhere else. He's an all-out right winger. He's been a right winger his whole career. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. When you're spending £4 million, you would expect him to have some form of impact in the first team and being used in there. So be interesting to see. But honestly, my first impression wasn't great when I seen the name thrown out there, but the more I look in, there's really looks like he'll be a very good player, and someone who will be exciting to watch, certainly. Now, of course, every transfer comes with its risk and the rest of it, but £4 million and a player who clearly has some talent there. Now, the second player we're going to talk about isn't one that brings, I think, as much first-team quality at the current moment in time as perhaps the previous does, but someone who certainly is a bit more exciting heading into the future too. An 18-year-old Bosun Lawal. It might be pronounced like that. I'm not sure. Don't take my word on it, and I apologise if I have got it wrong. I hate getting it wrong, but sometimes you do. Bosun Lawal we're getting linked with from Watford. He was the last season's Academy Player of the Year and is ready to leave Watford to join Celtic. Another one like Mr. Abada in the last segment is apparently very close to joining past a medical and could be done in the next 24 to 48 hours, according to the reports. Bosun is a 18-year-old Irish player. He's someone who has got a big future ahead of him. Watford wanted to keep him at the club. Hasn't happened. He's opted for a move up to Scotland, and as I said, reported to being very much close to being done. £150,000 seems to be the fee, and this is going to be a guy who, as I've already said, will probably not have a big impact on this year's team and this year's first team. He's very much one for the future, which I'm fine with, as long as we're getting those first-team players through the door. I'd obviously prioritise guys that are going to be the team this season because we need them now more than ever. But he seems like someone who's definitely got a big future. Troy Deeney, the Watford captain, or former Watford captain now, I can't even remember who he's playing for nowadays, Troy Deeney. But he compared him to Everton's Doucouré, who plays in the middle of the park, central midfielder, who's a player I've always liked, in all honesty. Someone who was a great signing for Everton at the start of the season, but he's compared him to him. And if we could get a player very much anything like him, I'll be happy with that. So, of course, a player that I'm not going to sit down and say I've seen a lot of, or that I expect a lot of, someone who's purely going to be here for development and could be big for the Colts next season. But, I mean, Doucouré is not a bad player to be compared to. There's certainly worse. So I'll take that. However, the main part is, of course, Academy Player of the Season last year at Watford. Watford are a team who in England are not a diddy team. They're not terrible. They're quite a decent enough club. Of course, just promoted back to the Premier League, where they'll compete this season. So it's a good award to get. Obviously shows you've got talent. There's a lot of decent young stars down in Watford, and they've produced a lot of good young players over the past sort of 10, 20 years. He could have been one of them, but now he's coming up here. So let's hope he's one of the better young players that we'll manage to bring through our team in the next few years. I'm excited once again to see what can be done. Spoke very highly of. It's not one to get overly excited about, but this is somebody who once again can hopefully come through and be good for us. Finally, Brandon Soppy. We spoke about him yesterday in my video saying Celtic need to get the finger out. Someone who I said I would love Celtic to get through the door, and according to French journalists, could be one that Celtic are closer to getting in the door. Now, if I was to say I'm sceptical about any of these three guys, if any were to fall apart, not to happen, it would be Brandon Soppy. It would be this one, but I'm hoping from what's been said that doesn't happen. It has been reported that he's agreed terms with Celtic. It is just about a fee being agreed on between Celtic and Rennes, the club he plays for in France right now. Now, we spoke yesterday about how Celtic were trying to shortchange them. They didn't want to pay an extra £1.2 million or whatever it was. The last report that I seen today was suggesting that Rennes are maybe willing to take that fee down a bit now, which suits Celtic and is bringing it closer to being done. Journalists are saying the talks are going well and it could be coming to Celtic soon. There was a photo on his Instagram earlier today in the locker room with boxes, and people are suggesting and alluding to the fact he might be packing his bags, and he's teasing coming. Ren fans are adamant he's trolling. Journalists are saying, yeah, it could be because he's leaving. I wouldn't read into it too much. It's a picture of a changing room with a couple of boxes lying there. It's most likely, I don't know, a package that he's just happens to be in the background as he takes a photo of himself on the locker. So, you know, I wouldn't read into that too much, but this is one that I hope Celtic really do get over the line. This is one Celtic need to pay that bit of money for. I think we're looking at a player who potentially comes into Celtic and becomes the starting right back. Now, I know he's only made, I think, 14, 15 senior appearances or whatever, and I still would like experience, but we need right backs. And he can come in and be one of those right backs. If we go out and get another player with a bit of experience later on in the window, I'm completely fine with that. But Soppy should be coming in. We've had so much success in that French market as of the past few years, and he can continue being a part of that. He's clearly got talent. He's playing for Rennes in France, one of the better sides, a side who we were playing in the Europa League only a couple of years ago, with a youth system that has produced great players. One of those players being Eduardo Camavinga right now, who could be off to Manchester United. This is a team that have talent, and he is clearly a talent. So I would like Celtic to get it done, and I hope that the French journalists' talk is to be believed, that we are edging closer to a deal there. Celtic should be throwing every bit of what they can at it. I was going to say every penny at it. I would suggest our whole transfer budget. Just throw whatever they can at it, get it done, and bring him in to be a key part of Celtic's future too. Another guy who's only 19 years old. You know, we've clearly got a system here that we're trying to use and exploit and make work, that we have done in that market 2 occasions before now with Edouard and Dembele. Hopefully Dembele, it can happen again. I hope this one gets done and gets over the line. So that does it. I am absolutely roasting because I decided to do this with this jacket on the entire time. So I'm going to wrap up the video there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited about the potential signing of these 3 guys? Are they the players that Celtic need? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.